Okay, people, this is October 29th, 2016. I'm out in the rain. If it was a church that I suppose I was connected to, it would be this church, which is a Ukrainian church. Right? But my family tend to take me out too. I don't know, this camera keep flashing out. Anyway, I'm up by the homeless. I was out here yesterday with my daughter. I'm trying to secure some social housing here. Okay? Yesterday the weather was nicer, but I'm coming out here today just to show what people are having to cope with. Okay? You can see it goes all the way. I don't want those guys. Anyway, I witnessed some kind of, I don't know if you call it police brutality, or just police gone wild. I had to remind the police yesterday that they're Canadians, they're not Americans, right? And I even had to remind the guy that was on the ground getting kind of manhandled by the police that he needed to relax and listen to the police and stop stressing himself out so much, right? Because it was a big kerfuffle out here. It disturbed me so much, people, that it brought me back today to go see if I could talk to somebody about it and find out what happened to that guy. Because if the police were doing that to him on the ground, what are they doing with him in the jail? That's my question. And I'm going to be writing the superintendent of the RCMP a letter of complaint, right? Because it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. So we'll be back. Hold on. So, okay, people. So as you can see, we're in 2016 coming into November, right? I think, 2015 last year, it was a mayoral election, right? And I was out here talking about Ebola, right? If you remember correctly. I think I remember correctly. Anyway, the situation down here is still pretty dire, right? And, I mean, like I said, what I witnessed yesterday with the police, the way they were carrying on, and I had to speak out and, basically remind them that they were Canadians and not American cops gone wild, right? Of course everybody's miserable out here, right? Nobody wants to talk, because one, they're scared. I think part of the reason people out here are maybe not wanting to talk, I'm starting to think that, they're scared. They're scared to talk about the actual physical abuse that goes on out here by so-called some professionals, right? And, yeah. Okay, people. I can only assume that you can see me here because, again, I can't flip the screen to see that I can look at the camera, I can look into the lens, and I can only hope that you can see me. Anyway, I'm back from up by the shelter over here. And what I did, people, is I gave away some Lucky Charms. Because not everything is about money, right? And I also gave away some fertile, sink to the bottom black walnuts. And I asked the people to plant them randomly, right? I gave them to 5 different individuals. Somebody's going to take 3 of them and plant them up by a lake or something where they won't be disturbed up in the Coquitlam area. And I said, well, that makes me feel good, right? Because they have a better chance of surviving. So, in the meantime, what's provoking me from doing this video, people, is yesterday I was with my daughter, right? Because my grandson's at a Halloween party and whatnot. So I had a little bit of free time, right? And we know that my daughter is struggling and she needs some housing, like ASAP. So anyway, I went from apartment to apartment. So I'm going to see if I can help her get an apartment with somebody else. A couple of other people that need housing. And long story short, we ended up back up by the area where a lot of people are concentrating right now. Because there's only so many places that the city allows them to set up a tent. And even then it's only temporary, right? Which you'll see, because I'm going to put what I did today in terms of video first and then this. Okay? Instead of me talking, I'll put that first. So you see that first and then you'll hear me talking if you stay long enough for this video. So, anyway, yesterday when I was out there, you know, I'm walking, right? And, I don't know, some kerfuffle started. I don't know. First the police were out there and everything seemed calm and, you know, and there wasn't no drama, okay? And then I go a little further and somebody had given me some sandwiches. I guess they thought I was homeless, so I had like a couple of bags that I was, you know, giving to somebody that wanted to have something to eat. And next thing you know, I turn around and there's a bunch of cops and they swarmed this one guy and they had him down on the ground. And this is why I'm doing this video, people. Okay? They had him down on the ground. His head was all bloody. And there was like 4 or 5 of them, cops, on this one guy. Right? And of course, everybody's standing around. And I'm like, whoa. And I'm telling you, I moved a little closer, people. And the only thing that I could say to the cops, in terms of their behavior and the way they were acting, is, and I reminded them that we're Canadians. That's what I said. Hey guys, we're Canadians. We're not Americans. You're not American cops. Okay? Because they were kind of kneeing the guy in his back, right? And he was a white guy, so you could see his skin turning red from the pressure of what these cops were doing to him. Up in the kidney area, he had a big red spot in here. And they pulled down his pants. For some reason, his pants got pulled down, so his white butt was exposed to the air as he's laying down on the ground. And I guess he had his hands this way, but the cops were on him, and they were screaming for him to give him his hand. I guess he didn't, either he couldn't pull out his hand because he had 2 or 3 cops on him, putting weight on him, whether they were punching on him, or whether they had their knees on him. The point is they were screaming for him to give him his hand, to give, like the guy, to give him their hand, but yet they had their body weight on this guy. So I'm standing, I'm watching this, people, okay, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm in panic mode now. I am in panic mode, okay, because I didn't expect to see this. And all I thought in my head, first thing my head came to was, be a witness. If you need to be a witness, don't be afraid to be a witness as to what you're witnessing, because it happens so fast. And all I could think about was, you guys are Canadian cops. You're not American cops. You know, we got enough American politics out here that is destroying the community. We don't need the cops acting like freaking renegade fucking American cops that are on power trips, right? So I don't know, I just said, hey, you know, you guys are Canadians. You're not American cops. You know? So, in the meantime, the people around me, the homeless people, they're getting upset because they're seeing this too. They're seeing the cops doing this. They're seeing the cops kneeing them, right? And then I guess one cop, I don't know, people. I don't know, people. We live in a fucked up world. Took his finger and tried to stick it up the guy's ass. Okay? Seriously. And a woman caught that. So did other people, and they got their little cell phones now, right? I don't have a cell phone, so I didn't videotape anything. I just stood there and watched it, right? As a impartial witness. And already I'm on a fence by saying, hey, you guys aren't American, right? So, and this woman, she's screaming, hey, did you see that? You know, the cop is sticking his finger up his ass, and like the guy's pants were down. For some reason, somebody, well, not somebody, one of those cops pulled down his fucking pants, so his ass was hanging out, right? Now, I didn't actually see the finger go up the butt, but, you know, there's some shit going on that, I don't know, people. I don't know, people. You know how I'm going to deal with this problem? I gotta keep this short because I'm having a problem with this computer converting over my videos. Any length of time they're kicking out because the computer has a virus, so that's all I can think of. So besides that point, the only thing that I can think of in terms of this little video is not gonna make a difference. It will not make a difference, okay? What's gonna make a difference is me finding the time, even though I have to take this stuff with Uncle John to court and all this other crap, right? You know? Because that's how these guys play. They know it's going to be hard for you to take it to court. That's why they do it, because they know that by the time you get to fucking court, it's all going to be said and done. And the court system itself, in some ways, you know, depending on who you're dealing with, is just as corrupt as what's going out in fucking society when it comes to white-collar crime. Anyway, all this right here is a printout. Not that I can afford to print it out, but it's in regards to the new strategy that the city of Surrey is trying to implement in order to bring safety into the community. We've got the corporate report. I just got a new pair of glasses that I don't like. They're called bifocals, which I just more like, I don't know. But anyway, let me just figure this out here. Trying to read with them, right? This is a corporate report from June 15th from 2015. And it talks about vulnerable women and girls working group. Okay? This is one of their strategies to help these homeless people from the year 2015, from the month of June. I got to read that, people. Okay? Because this is what they're basing their policies on. Is these little reports and these, you know, other little strategy things that they're doing in here. So then we've got another one that talks about, what is it called? Hold on. Action plan. There we go. Hold on. All right, can you see that? It's called an action plan for the social well-being of Surrey residents. Summary of priority issues and recommendations from March of 2006. This is what they're still working on this action plan, okay? Because when you go to their site and you look about the things that they're trying to, you know, bring in, blah, 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 this is one of the first things that they want you to look at. I have something from reduction of poverty from 2007, okay? I have that over there. And they haven't reduced poverty. If anything, the level of poverty has increased in this city, and including the whole province, okay? They just mask it, people. They mask it with this kind of stuff. Propaganda, right? And then there's another one. I don't know where it is here. It's a strategy to prevent crime, okay? And it's just something that they just posted up on their website. Because I was looking for that video that whoever was recording yesterday with their cell phone, with this stuff going on with this guy on the ground. I Googled, you know, something like Surrey cops or something, thinking maybe it'll come up. And it didn't come up. Of course not. It wouldn't come up, right? Because like I said, people, they don't report the deaths that are happening out there on the streets for whatever reason. Whether it's done through violence, whether it's done through, you know, drugs or kidnappings or whatever the fuck is going on out there, okay? So anyway, there's another one in here called strategy something to prevent crime, which at the end of the day is probably going to have something to do with attacking the poorest of the poor, just like I witnessed yesterday. Because this is what's happening. I'm thinking, okay, if they're going to treat this guy, now, everybody out there has post-traumatic stress syndrome, okay? All the homeless people, and including the cops, all right? They've already done a report on the cops that they're suffering from post-traumatic syndrome because they're just dealing with way too much crises out in the streets when it comes to homelessness, addiction, mental health issues, and just stress in general. And that's just kind of being imported into the police department as a whole. But that still doesn't give anybody to take their fucking finger and shove it up somebody's ass, especially when the guy is already down on the ground with 3 other people or 4 other people on top of him. Whether the guy is an asshole or not, that's not professional. That is molestation. That's what that is. Okay? So I'm thinking, well, if they're treating this guy like this in public, with all these homeless people standing around, kind of like the American cops, shooting some black guy in the United States of America, and then all the black people come out, and nobody's allowed to go help him, even though the guy is bleeding out on the fucking streets and dies right there in front of them. Well, the cops are, well, we got to investigate what happened, when it's plain as fucking day, right? What are they doing with this guy when they get him behind closed doors, and there's nobody there to witness how they're treating him? If they're going to treat him like this out in the fucking streets, whether he was having a nervous breakdown or not, regardless, What are they doing with him behind closed doors? So I'm thinking about this when I get home. And I'm like, well, how do you deal with this problem? Because the last thing you need to do is piss off more people. Right? Because we just got over with the fucking city harassing me the last year, because I talk about this stuff, people. I talk about this stuff. And the city of Surrey doesn't want it out there in YouTube land, that somebody at some point can stumble along and connect the dots and see it for what it really freaking is, right? No, instead they want to bring out their little strategies and their little propaganda, and they want to make it sound all fucking nice, right? When at the end of the day, all you have to do is go out in the fucking streets, stand around long enough, and you'll witness it for yourself. So anyway, I went out there again today, because again, I'm by myself. I wanted to kind of find out if that guy is okay. Because I'm really wondering how he's being treated in jail now that he's in jail. And here's another thing. Okay, so they got him down on the ground, whatever. I'm telling the cops, like, you know, you guys are Canadians, like, fuck, man, right? I mean, I can only do so much. Everything calms down, whatever. I go do whatever I was going to do when I got out there. I went to go talk to somebody about some housing, so that's why I was there, right? So I wander on back, you know, 15 minutes goes by. I wander on back, and this dude's still up on the fucking ground. Everybody's standing around. Ambulance over there, you know? And I'm like, well, why is he still on the ground? Like, why you leave him on the ground like that? Well, what's the matter, right? Anyway, the whole thing is stupid, people. The whole thing is fucking stupid. Like, these are sick people. These are sick. This is like a sick game. Like, honest, like one of those fucking computer games where, you know, people can just, whether it's the cops or whether it's fucking pent-up fucking men in their houses, you know, can't take it out on their wife, want to go take it out on the homeless people, whether it's ignorant teenagers that think that could never happen to them, you know, regardless. Anybody, everybody just thinks that they can go out there and socially abuse these people. And what I witnessed yesterday was total social abuse on a professional level. And it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing to me to think that Canadian RCMP are running around sticking their fucking fingers up people's asses after they've been subdued, being punched, kicked, well, not kicked, but punched, kneed, slammed down to the ground, and practically smothered by having a whole bunch of people on you. You know, what if that guy develops kidney problems now because he got kneed in the fucking back there where his kidneys are, or his liver or whatever, right? And so I'm walking back and I'm like, okay, well, why is this guy still on the ground? Like, oh, well, the ambulance, you know, they're just, you know, we're just waiting. And I'm like, whatever. So I get home and I'm like, well, do I do a video? How do I do a video? My grandson wants to grow up to be a police officer, for crying out loud. He tells me he's going to have his own car and he wants to be a fucking cop. And I'm like, oh, well, that's nice. You know, if you stay out of trouble, you go to school, right? You don't do drugs, right? You be a good person. You can be a cop. That's what I tell him, because I'm not trying to discourage him from being something that he wants to be. And he's serious. But here's the thing, people. We criminalize the poorest of the poor so much out in this fucking city that he wants to arrest his own mother. Because that's how he sees his mother's illness being dealt with when it comes to having her removed from the property because her brothers and sister downstairs can't cope with her mental illness and her homelessness, her chronic homelessness, in fear of maybe she might OD under their noses because she's so sick that it's just a matter of time of when. Okay? So, I'm like, this is just, it's just like the nightmare with the fucking government just never fucking ends. It just never fucking ends. I mean, first it was kick her out and take the baby and, you know, and do all that. And then the baby comes back and then Uncle John goes fucking missing and everybody protects the white-collar criminal there. And I'm looking at the Supreme Court, right? As nobody's helping me with my daughter or any other sick person out there, even though they were more deserving than what John needed. John didn't need what he got, but he got what he got because they needed his money. That's why Uncle John went missing, because they whoever, the government and their employees with their pension plans and all this other shit needed his fucking money to prop up their system. Well, out here, it's just some battle zone where people can do what they want regardless of whether they're a professional or not. Okay. So I'm like, well, do I do a video? Because if I do a video, we know that the troll network's going to come out and try and discredit everything that I got to say. Right? Because they're part of the problem. They're the ones that instigate this shit. They're the ones that get off on this shit. You know, they like molesting people. They like people being raped and murdered and tortured. That's what they like. That's why I get harassed for talking out against it. Right? So I take risks talking about this. But I'm thinking, well, that's not good enough. That's not going to make an impact because YouTube censors my shit anyway. One way or another, they don't put me up on the fucking list, so half my stuff gets buried. You know? People will be lucky to come across my video. So I'm like, okay, well, you need to take it up a notch. You need to take it up a notch. What's the best way to take it up a fucking notch? Because it's unacceptable behavior. Plain and simple. Plain and fucking simple. And if they're treating one guy like that, you know they're treating everybody else out there like that as soon as they get an opportunity to do it. Because I said to my son, this is what I said to my son. Okay, please come to my house. They remove my daughter, whatever. And they're polite. And they're patient. And they're kind. And I'm appreciative of that. And, you know, but I asked my son, I said, but do you honestly think that each and every cop, each and every moment is kind and nice to my daughter, especially when my daughter is acting out because she's not well herself? Right? And he's like, no, probably not, Mom. You know, it is what it is. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. It is what it is. Right? But at the end of the day, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable because I can almost guarantee you the stuff that I'm going to be reading in here, and I'm going to, as I read it, I'm going to have to make a chart so that it's in black and white so that you can see it. It will be probably the more criminalizing the poor than it is actually helping the poor. Because when it's actually helping them, a lot of it just boils down to fucking rhetoric. It boils down to their union fucking rhetoric. And one way or another, somebody's in a union and it's just a bunch of fucking rhetoric. Okay, and those tents today, and that what I seen yesterday is a testament to that rhetoric. So what's the best way of dealing with police misconduct? I guess you can call it. We won't call it abuse, because God forbid, police don't abuse anybody, right? We'll just call it misconduct. You know, I'm thinking, okay, well, since I watched this little video today, you know, it just so happens, there's the superintendent of the RCMP up there chatting on about his strategy to prevent crime. And I'm like, bingo, that's the guy who you write this letter to. Because even if he watched your video, it would go in one ear and out the other ear. Because personally, those people don't give a jack shit. Because if they did, we wouldn't have the problem right now where people are being abused. Basically, out in the most horrendous situation possible. Right? So anyway, I went inside the front room today. I don't know what it's called. They changed the name trying to fucking distract away from what they really are. Just because you change your name doesn't mean it changes you. Okay? So I went into the front room and it's the same old, same old. Just a bunch of poor sick people. It should be a triage, like it should be a fucking hospital emergency room. Everybody running around, all the workers running around with their gloves because they're afraid to touch anything. Because it's so disease infested in there with their staph infections and all this other shit going on. Right? Surrey flu is starting to go through, right? So I'm sure some more will be dropping off like flies. You know? And I'm like, I'm giving away walnuts, people, for planting. And I'm giving away a few Lucky Charms. And I'm just trying to connect with the people, right? Just so I don't lose sight of what they're going through. Of what I've witnessed. Okay? Because if it happened to one, it's happening to others. Long story short, somebody mentioned to me that the cops they beat him with freaking rolled up telephone books because they don't leave bruises. That's one person's testament. And I'm at the point where I'm starting to think that there's a lot more shit going on out there, but people are just too afraid to talk about it. Okay? Like, seriously. I think they're just too fucking afraid to talk about it. So I'm going to write this superintendent this weekend. I'm still giving my walnuts in their husks and the walnut ink powder, right? And a few Lucky Charms with some chestnuts so they can make their own, right? And some walnuts that they can plant that are fertile, that I know are fertile and have already been husked and sunk to the bottom of the water. I'm dropping that off with my grandson to our local police station, right? Because not every cop is a bad cop. And yes, they do suffer from post-traumatic stress syndrome, just like those people out in the streets. Who's responsible for that? Federal government, provincial government, municipal government? I don't know. I don't fucking know, okay? All I know is that all this stuff in here is a waste of paper. It's a waste of fucking paper. But I had to waste my money on this paper in order to find the information so that I can show you that it's a waste of fucking paper. Okay? Because the little video that you just looked at prior to listening to this rant, you know, you don't see it for what it is. Social neglect, social abuse, fucking people being molested with their pants pulled down right there in the open for everybody to see, with fucking so-called professional people sticking their fingers up their fucking ass after the guy was practically beat down into the ground by an excessive force of professionals. And for what? Because the guy is sick. He's homeless. He's cold. He's scared. Right? He's emotionally damaged. We don't know what his physical ailments are. And this is what we want to beat on. Because we're too cheap to fucking invest into housing. And some caring workers that are not afraid to be around them. In terms of a human being around another human being. So I'm going to write the superintendent of the RCMP with a complaint in regards to what I witnessed yesterday and how his police officers are carrying themselves out in public. That's all I wanted to say.